just the calendar itself. And when I found out that the theme for the Women's History Month was the rites of passage, resurrecting the principles and values of our African ancestors, I thought I'd talk more on those lines. So that's what I'm going to talk about this evening, actually, the legitimacy of Mdw Ntr and the legitimacy of Kemet for resurrecting an African worldview. But before I speak, I'd just like to ask the permission of the elders in the audience for the right to speak this evening. Thank you, Hotep. Let me start off, first of all, by explaining to you, for those of you who don't know what Hotep means, because everyone says it all the time, as a greeting. And it is used as a greeting. It was used as a greeting in ancient Kemet, but when it was used as such, it was used in a very special and reverent way. The word Kemet in Mdw Ntr in the writing is a picture of an offering table or an offering slab with a loaf of bread on top of it. So Hotep actually means an offering. It means an offering. It's a picture of an offering and it means an offering. But by extension, it can mean being satisfied with an offering. And so by extension, it can mean satisfaction. And that's really what it means. So when we say it as a greeting, it's a very special form of greeting, meaning may there be an offering to you, or may you be satisfied in the sense of having received an offering. So that is what we're saying when we say Hotep. It does not mean peace. The idea of peace probably didn't exist in Kemet, especially not the way it exists it means in the Western world. So that's not what it means, but it means an offering, or it means being satisfied. Another greeting that we have in Kemet is life, prosperity, and health. Mdw Ntr. And that's the way people really greeted each other when they saw each other every day. And upon meeting each other and upon leaving each other, they would say, life, prosperity, and health to you. Mdw Ntr. So that's a more appropriate address or greeting to use with people in everyday life. Since the theme of the Women's History Month is the rites of passage, resurrecting the principles and values of our ancestors, the principles and values is part of our worldview. It's the very essence of our worldview. So I'd like to begin this evening by asking two questions, and that is, what is a worldview, and why do we need a worldview? A worldview, first of all, very simply put, is how we view the world, how we define the world, and how we define the things in our environment for ourselves, how we define our own reality. It is also our values and our principles that we have defined for ourselves when we are in our right mind, of course. That is what we mean by a worldview. Why do we need a worldview in the first place? Well, one of the first realities of needing a worldview is that every people on the planet Earth have a worldview. Every people has a worldview. And their worldview is based upon how they define the world and how they have defined their own reality for themselves. So therefore, with that worldview that they have designated for themselves, they are preparing themselves for the next millennia. They are preparing themselves for the 21st century. They are preparing themselves for their continued survival, their continued existence, and most importantly, their continued growth and development. The only people on the planet Earth who actually don't have a world view of our own at the moment is Africa and African people. And that is a very scary thing. We have a choice as African people. First, we have a couple of choices, but the two main choices we have is either one, to develop a worldview, an African worldview of our own, where we have defined our own reality in our own terms of existence, or we can adapt or emerge ourselves in the worldview of the Western world, of the white man. And by doing that, that's not going to work, because the white man is not going to carry us on his back